Good morning. Happy Monday. It's time to rise in freedom. Yeah, that's right. It's that time again. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Happy to have you here. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. At the top of the program today, Bill Maher compared Wokesters to Mao's communist cultural revolution. I'll play that clip for you at the top of the show and we'll discuss and analyze it. I think he's slowly becoming one of us. What? Wouldn't you be so disappointed, right? Come on. It's nice to see that so many people are starting to agree with our point of view. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. Glad to have you here. Dustin, welcome to the program. John Knox. Morning to Joni Rankin, as well as our friend EBC, and of course my lovely wife, Steffi P. Chris Morrill, I see, is joining us as well. Nice to see so many people getting up bright and early to get the day started for you today. I'll make sure that you're fully informed. We'll talk about a disabled surf star. Bethany Hamilton won't compete, she says, if she has to go up against biological men. For those of you who don't know Bethany Hamilton, I will introduce her to you. She lost her left arm in a shark attack when she was a young girl, but she didn't let that stop her from becoming a surfing champion. She came out over the weekend with a video complaining, well, I won't say complaining, but it was probably the gentlest form of complaining, if you will, about the new rules of the World Surfing Competition to allow biological men to compete against biological women. And she's only got one arm. This is kind of interesting. We'll talk about that. And Erica Sansy, she is from Defending Education, is going to be joining us at 7:35 to give her take on that, as well as the issue that we all have to deal with, which is those questions about whether or not to include trans men and women in sports that they are not a biological, that's not their biological sex. At 7:51 this morning, this is hallelujah, for I know for a lot of libertarians out there, people who want their drugs and their guns, people who want to have their fully automatic machine guns defending their marijuana fields after their gay wedding, whatever it is, whatever that quote is that you either love me for or hate me for. But a judge came out and said that banning guns for marijuana users is unconstitutional. Can you believe it? I don't believe it. I don't believe it. A little pidgin English for you today. So we'll talk about that at 7:51 this morning. Should be interesting. At 8 o'clock this morning, Harry Potter fans are just absolutely livid. They want no more talk of JK Rowling, and they've banned discussion about JK Rowling for 3 years. If you don't know what Reddit is, it's one of the biggest websites in the world, and it's completely leftist dominated. Even um, the libertarian subreddit is just all leftists who think that they're libertarians. They're like anti-capitalists and all kinds of crap. Anyways, so this new Harry Potter video game is coming out, Hogwarts Legacy, and I was interested in possibly buying it, except for the fact that it's like $80 to buy it right out of the fact. I mean, I remember when video games used to be $50 and you were like, oh my God, that's too much money. And it was like 1986 and now they're like $80. But anyways, I'm sure there will be microtransactions, et cetera, et cetera. I'll try not to use too many big words for those who aren't gamers. But Hogwarts Legacy is this new video game that's coming out, and everybody's talking about it. But apparently, the subreddit that's dedicated to this video game has banned discussion about J.K. Rowling for 3 years because of her views on biological women. And then on top of that, apparently the game, in order to become more inclusive, has a what's called a no judgment system, which I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty details too much of video games. I'll do that a little bit later at 8 a.m. when we discuss the video game. But whenever you make a moral choice in a video game, so for example, I'm playing this game called Mass Effect Andromeda right now. If you make a moral decision, there are repercussions for that. If you choose to be evil, then there are going to be consequences for that. If you choose to be good, there are going to be consequences to that, right? You might not be as rich as an evil person in a game, right? But that's what you choose in order to, like, be more virtuous, or to be, a knight in shining armor, or like have your hair be white because you're a good guy or whatever. So apparently this new Hogwarts Legacy video game, in order to be more inclusive, has decided to say whenever you make a moral judgment, there's no judgment, no judges, which sounds boring as hell. We'll talk about that at 8 o'clock. Well, I feel bad for J.K. Rowling and this universe that she's created. It's big. It's kind of like having a child and then having your child morph. And it wasn't there a movie or some horror film where like some woman had a baby and the baby like grew up and turned into like a monster or something like that. I don't know. The Fly. I don't know. Maybe think of something else. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. Matt Unruh says that Andromeda is a fun game, but it is a mess development wise. Yeah, there are quite a lot of bugs. It is a shame. Okay. Rise and Freedom. What's next after that? Unsexy habits demolishing your likability. I've got a list of some unsexy habits that are making people not like you, Chris. We'll talk about that this morning if I have enough time. And at 8:49, things that classy people never tolerate. Oh yes, we're going to be classy today. Yes, things that classy people would never tolerate. If you're tolerating some of these things in your life, I will give you a list at the end of the show and we'll talk about things that classy people will never tolerate. Are you glad? Hooray! Good. I'm glad you're glad. And then I've got like 5 other stories that I'm not even going to have time for. I don't know if I'll get to it. I mean, I've got backups on backups. There's so much interesting news going on today. I'll just list them for you. One is a school had to apologize for serving students chicken and watermelon on the first day of Black History Month. Dr. Phil apparently was struggling with getting advertisers, and that's why maybe he's actually was leaving his show rather than what I originally thought it was I thought that it was just he just got a new deal with somebody else, but apparently the advertisers, at least the big ones, were fleeing. Coke Network says that they're not going to back Donald Trump in the primary. They're going to back somebody else, which is pretty interesting. And then, of course, Asians are complaining about the push against gas stoves because how can you cook in a wok without a gas stove? We're having a heated debate. If I can get to those stories, I will try. But first off, let's hit the big news today, which was, again, Bill Maher making headlines, at least what I think is most relevant to all of our listeners with this epic monologue comparing Wokesters to Chairman Mao's Cultural Revolution. It's an awesome new rules, and we're going to play it and talk about it.
A new rule: if you're part of today's woke revolution, you need to study the part of revolutions where they spin out of control because the revolutionaries get so drunk on their own purifying elixir, they imagine they can reinvent the very nature of human beings. Communists thought selfishness could be cast out of human nature. Russian revolutionaries spoke of the new Soviet man who wasn't motivated by self-interest, but instead wanted to be part of a collective. No, it turns out he wanted to be on a yacht in a Gucci tracksuit holding a vodka and a prostitute. Not standing in line all day for a potato. The problem with communism and with some very recent ideologies here at home is that they think you can change reality by screaming at it, that you can bend human nature by holding your breath. But that's the difference between reality and your mommy.
I mean, could you imagine Bill Maher saying something like that even like 2-3 years ago, before COVID had hit? I really think that a lot of people got red pilled during the COVID era. But when it comes to this level of understanding, Bill Maher is Bill Maher is essentially what you might call a neoliberal at this point, right? Somebody who's, friendly to markets and capitalism, but generally thinks we need more regulation, right? We call those Keynesians or market socialists, or some people call it, in order to be nice, the mixed economy. Bill Maher seems to be edging, further away from that leftist view of politics, which I think he was there for some time because he had Trump derangement syndrome. Let's not forget. He didn't have it as bad as somebody like Sam Harris had, right? Look, as bad as Sam Harris had. Sam Harris had like the worst case of Trump derangement syndrome of anybody that I saw on the left. But while Bill Maher had it, it appears as if he didn't fully drink the Kool-Aid.
Lincoln once said that you can repeal all past history, but you still cannot repeal human nature. But he's canceled now, so fuck him. Yesterday, I asked ChatGPT, are there any similarities between today's woke revolution and Chairman Mao's Cultural Revolution of the 1960s? And it wrote back, how long do you have?
Funny little side note here about ChatGPT. I have had people contacting me literally from all over the world. Somebody contacted me from South America. Some libertarian who runs a think tank down there wrote me a message last night and was like, "Hey, how can I do this? How can I get into this?" I'm getting dozens of messages from people all over the country and all over the world who are contacting me saying, Austin, how do I make use of these artificial intelligence tools? So I know that I'm on the right track whenever I've got a lot of people saying, hey, Austin, how can we do what you're doing?
Because, again, in China, we saw how a revolutionary thought he could do a page-one rewrite of humans. Mao ordered his citizens to throw off the four olds. Old thinking, old culture, old customs, and old habits. So your whole life went in the garbage overnight, no biggie. And those who resisted were attacked by an army of purifiers called the Red Guard, who went around the country putting dunce caps on people.
These were called struggle sessions, and essentially they would verbally berate these people. They would demean them. They would gather around. They would engage in wild behavior, screaming at them, shouting them down. I mean, it's like the Milgram experiment personified, right? It's like Nazi Germany in terms of what they're able to convince people to do. Have you ever heard about those, by the way, the Milgram experiment? If I'm not I hope I'm not using a term you're not familiar with. So the Milgram experiment was something I think was done in the 60s or the 70s because they were wondering, how could people turn into Nazis and do such how could normal people commit such terrible atrocities? And what they found is that there are very few people who are resistant to authority. If somebody comes to you in a lab coat and gives you a little buzzer and says, hey, shock this person, most people will do it. Isn't that insane? Isn't that absolutely bonkers that people would actually say, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this? Well, of course, they did this in Mao's communist China. This is what he's talking about. And they would make these people wear dunce caps because they resisted Mao's cultural revolution. Let's continue.
Who didn't take to being a new kind of mortal being. A lot of pointing and shaming went on. Oh, and about 1 million dead. And the only way to survive was to plead insanity for the crime of being insufficiently radical, then apologize and thank the state for the chance to see what a piece of shit you are. And, of course, submit to re-education, or as we call it.
There really just isn't enough education about this in Western society. Like we learn about World War II, and the funny thing is that one of the least studied parts of World War II, which I've had to supplement my knowledge on as an adult, is, I mean, everything's focused on Europe and the Nazis, but nobody focuses on what was going on with China and Japan and the war between the nationalists and the communists in China, and how what happened there with Mao's revolution is influencing what's happening with us today. Because while the Soviet Union was a threat for a while and the Cold War, it's been over for some time. And now we're dealing with a threat from communist China. They shot down that spy balloon over the weekend. But most people are very ignorant about how communism was implemented in China, how it came about, how it formed, and the kinds of things that they did to try and turn people to turn China into a communist nation. I could go on about this for hours.
Here in America, freshman orientation.
Hold on, I want you to get that joke. Let me back up.
And, of course, submit to re-education, or as we call it here in America, freshman orientation.
Right, submit to re-education, like what Canada is trying to do to Jordan Peterson, like demanding mandatory re-education on social media because they want him to conform to their social guidelines. I mean, Canada is literally doing the same thing to an extent that communist China was doing to their people. They want to commit him to a struggle session, put a dunce cap on him, and verbally berate him.
Listen to this story. There's a law professor at the University of Illinois, Chicago, named Jason Kilborn, whose crime was that on one of his exams, he used a hypothetical case where a black female worker sued her employer for race and gender discrimination, alleging that managers had called her 2 slur words, the type of real-world case these students might one day confront. And knowing the extreme sensitivity of today's students, he didn't write the 2 taboo words on the test, just the first letter of each. He was teaching his students how to fight racism in the place where it matters most, the criminal justice system. But because he merely alluded to those words, again, in the service of a good cause, he was banned from campus, placed on indefinite leave, and made to wear the dunce cap.
Isn't that insane? Yeah, obviously.
No, not really the dunce cap part, but
Right.
but our American version of that. 8 weeks of sensitivity training, weekly 90-minute sessions with a diversity trainer.
That's a struggle session, right? So the whole point there is that he engaged in wrongthink in academia. So they submit him to a struggle session to brainwash him so that he understands that he is an oppressor, that he needs to start thinking woke. He, as a white male, he's not allowed, even if he's teaching people how to fight against racism, he has to do it in the way that the left demands. He has to get rid of the old. He must embrace the new. This is I had never heard of this until Bill Maher talked about this story. I mean, this is just absolutely wild.
And having to write 5 self-reflection papers. A
Can you imagine?
grown-ass man, a liberal law professor. If you can't see the similarities between that and this, the person who needs re-education is you. Yes, we do have our own Red Guard here, but they do their rampaging on Twitter.
Yeah.
Here's a cute example from a couple of years ago. The banjo player
This is funny. This is
from
funny.
Mumford & Sons tweeted that he liked a book that apparently had not been approved by the revolution. So, of course, he had to delete the tweet, then take time away from the band. Oh, my God, you mean this could have affected Mumford & Sons?
So that book, Unmasked by Andy No, I think that's how it's pronounced, NGO. Andy No, Andy No is famous for going to Antifa rallies and documenting the amount of terrorism and violence that Antifa engages in at their rallies. And he is, I mean, they've tried to murder him, they've doxed him, they've tried to kill him, and he did this awesome book. You've got to get a copy of it, Unmasked by Andy No. Let's continue.
And then the cringing apology. I have come to better understand the pain caused by the book I endorsed. Pain? From a book? Unless he hit the drummer over the head with it. What happened to I can read whatever the fuck I want?
Sorry for the language. Yeah.
Don't worry, I'm a musician. It won't happen again.
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, how good is this? How good is this? Yeah, like the stream if you haven't yet.
There was
by the way.
once a
Give us
very
like.
different musician named John Lennon who wrote a song called Revolution.
Now, this is another thing that I had no idea of. I took the song, the lyrics for Revolution, dead serious. But apparently it was said in jest. Pay attention to this. This is really good.
Musician named John Lennon who wrote a song called Revolution. And people who didn't really listen to it thought it was a rah-rah call for revolution. No, it was the opposite. The lyrics are, you say you want a revolution? Well, you know, we all want to change the world. But if you go carrying pictures of Chairman Mao, you ain't going to make it with anybody anyhow. There's a guy who understood how good intentions can turn into the insane arrogance of thinking your revolution is so fucking awesome and your generation is so mind-bendingly improved that you have bequeathed the world with a new kind of human. You're welcome.
Right.
With communists, that human was no longer selfish. In America today, that human is no longer born male or female. And obesity is not something that affects health. You can be healthy at any size. Really, we voted on it. A formerly serious magazine last year published with a straight face an article called Separating Sports by Sex Doesn't Make Sense.
Yeah, we're going to talk about
Yes, it does. Because again, we haven't reinvented Homo sapiens since Crystal Pepsi came out. I've spent 3 decades on TV mocking Republicans who said climate change was just a theory. And now I got to deal with people who say, you know what else is just a theory? Biology.
Damn. What did you think about that stuff? Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Man, and I've got a lot more good stuff for you. I think I'll go ahead and skip that commercial break, the first commercial break for you, so we can continue because we've got a good audience so far this morning. If you're watching the show and you're liking so far the reactions that I'm giving to you, make sure that you react for me. Make sure to go up to the top of the video and click like to get this show out in other people's feeds. We want to try and grow the channel as well. You can send us a text at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Surfing champion Bethany Hamilton announced she will not compete. Speaking of, biology, she will not compete in the World Surf League anymore if they allow biological men to surf in the women's events. She's kind of a legend for becoming a surfing star with just one arm. And she's speaking out against the World Surf League's new transgender policy. Let's take a listen.
Today, I want to address the news that the World Surf League has officially made the rule that male-bodied individuals known as transgender athletes can officially compete in the women's division. The World Surf League says they are following the Olympic guidelines. While I address this issue, I want to be clear that I strive to have love for all of mankind, regardless of any differences.
It doesn't matter,
But
Bethany.
this concerns me as a professional athlete that has been competing.
You see, again, it doesn't matter. You can say, everything that you want. You can say whatever you want to try and assuage people's feelings about this, but it doesn't matter. It's like what Bill Maher was saying. If you do not submit to the new cultural revolution and their new rules, it doesn't matter what you say you feel about something. They only see you as an ally if you accept their demands, their ever-changing demands, changing on a daily basis demands, and conform to their truth as they see it at the time. So there's no reason to sit there and say, I care about everybody. It doesn't matter. They don't care what you say. They only care what you do, and that is that you obey them.
In the World Surf League events for the past 15 plus years, and I feel that I must speak up and stand up for those in position that may feel that they cannot say something about this. I think many of the girls currently on tour are not in support with this new rule, and they fear being ostracized if they speak up. So here I go. Questions I have that I want to consider with you. How is this rule playing out in other sports like swimming, running, MMA? Have any of the current surfers in the World Surf League been asked what their thoughts and opinions are on this new rule?
Pause for just a moment. She says, this is a list of questions that she has, for the World Surf League and their new transgender policy. Well, she asked questions. How has this affected women in other sports? Well, I can tell you that in MMA, there was a woman who was a biological male initially who transitioned and didn't tell anyone that she did and competed in women's sports and crushed the skulls of women that she competed against, which in my mind is assault and battery.
Rule before it was passed or announced? Should there be a conversation with the 17 women and all of the men on tour prior to a rule change such as this? Is a hormone level an honest and accurate depiction that someone indeed is a male or female?
See, boom, that's a great question. Is a hormone level an accurate description of what makes someone a male or a female? I mean, in my belief, the answer is no. It's about your chromosomes, but let's continue.
Is it as simple as this? Who is pushing for this huge change? Does this better the sport of surfing?
Who is pushing for this huge change? Bethany, you know who's pushing for this huge change.
Is this better for the women in surfing? If so, how? How did whoever decided these hormone rules come to the conclusion that 12 months of testing testosterone make it a fair and legal switch? Why is the WSL's statement about trans women competing with women, and yet there's no mention of converted women competing with men? I personally think that the best solution would be to create a different division so that all can have a fair opportunity to showcase their passion and talent.
Agreed.
And I think it's really hard to imagine what the future of women's surfing will be like in 15 to 20 years down the road if we move forward, allowing this major change. But we are seeing glimpses of male-bodied dominance in women's sports like running, swimming, and others.
Oh, shit.
My hope is that if I ever have a daughter who is competing in surfing or any sport, and also for all the aspiring young generation of women, to have a bright and promising opportunity in her ambition to be the best of the best woman in her sport.
So yeah, I saw over on the chat, Corey Kleiber was saying she seems like she can barely read. Well, I think she's probably extremely nervous because this is she's doing a very dangerous thing, very brave thing by coming out and saying that. I'm going to have a guest on here in just a few minutes from Defending Ed, Erica Sansy. She's going to weigh in on this topic so we can get a lady's point of view on this one. I want to be very careful on how I say this, but I've got a lot to say about this. As somebody who doesn't have a bigoted bone in their body, I feel the same way that she did when she started this out, right? Like, I just want, you to know that, and I know that this doesn't matter to the left, but I think it matters to us for our discussion, right? Our little private discussion here on live stream, that it's not about discrimination. It's not about saying, oh, well, this person is less than that person or this person is that. It's about acknowledging biological realities in looking at women and men competing against each other in sports. It's not fair for a biological man to compete against a woman. It's nowhere near fair. And it's ridiculous to see it happen. However, and this is where I think this is the part that can get me in trouble here. It I spend a lot of time watching videos from the manosphere. If you're not familiar, the red pill videos, videos of MGTOW, men going their own way. Some people call them misogynists, and some of the men, the videos that I watch are misogynists. Even some of the videos of the women that I have, women who hate women. That's typically a minority. But I will say that I watch a lot of those videos, and a lot of them in. Hold on, just one second. Erica is texting me in just 1 minute. Um, and I want to say this: it's a difficult position to be in because this cultural movement, this transgender cultural movement, has been pioneered and spearheaded by postmodern feminism. This is a scenario where it's a lose lose for men no matter what, and the women are starting to lose in this scenario for the first time in a long time. Whereas women have come to the forefront of cultural dominance for the last several decades and have pushed men to the back, put them in the corner, told them to shut up, you're strong, you're independent women, all this situation. I get it. And while the conservative view on the right is we have to protect women, we have to put them in a situation where we have to look after them and take care of them and protect them from transgenders, from creeps, from pedos, from pervs, from all this kind of stuff. And I get that and I understand that and I identify with that to a certain extent, but only to the extent you understand that in this modern world as it is, we have to deal with the world as it is, right? And don't get me wrong. I think that it's ridiculous for men and women to competing in biological sports, but I think it probably needs to happen for a certain segment of the population to learn their lesson about the double standards that exist between men and women in our society. Because it's always we have to save women, either the trope of the girl in the castle, the princess bride, right? At this point in time, ladies, I think you're going to have to save yourselves. And you're not going to be able to expect men to come and save you because you have pushed men away for so long in so many scenarios, in so many cases in the modern world, that it's too dangerous for a man to step outside his comfort zone and go out there and try and rescue the princess because the shark infested waters are filled with purple haired liberals who will eat him alive. And there's no incentive to do so. And I understand the cowboy boot wearing, tobacco spitting conservative right man is going to say, well, it don't matter. Go out there and save those girls and all that kind of stuff. You go out there, you save the girls, you do it, right? Maybe there's an incentive for you. You're going to get eaten alive and you get chewed up by the sharks of the left. But as it is right now, this gender problem has been a creation of one gender specifically. It wasn't men voting for this. It wasn't men supporting this, not real men, right? It wasn't us doing that. But now we're in a scenario where we're being asked to step in and try and protect women from themselves and each other. This is a feminist movement, right? And this is a feminist movement that's eating itself. And I think at this point, like we're going to have to sit back and watch you fight it out, ladies, and figure it out for yourselves, because at this point in time, it doesn't make sense for men like myself to step in and try and save her. Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. Don't save her. She don't want to be saved. I got to go to a commercial break so I can go get my guest, Erica Sansy. She's sending me a text. She wants to be on the show. I'm going to go get her. Be right back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Donald Trump and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bullshit. This is my Dee-Dee's website, and I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bullshit is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bullshit is a good...
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also love cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, the Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today. Fire.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at Wake Up America Show. We are live. Don't forget, you can text us today at 573-319-1586. Alternatively, you can also send us a super chat over on YouTube where we are live. Make sure you click that like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification icon so you can get notifications when we're live. All right, Bethany Hamilton, surf star, comes out against a new inclusive transgender policy in the World Surf Competitions. Joining me now to discuss from Defending Education is Erica Sansy, who's joining us live on camera right now. Good morning, Erica. Thank you for joining us today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Austin.
Yeah, so Bethany Hamilton very bravely comes out against a new policy that would include biological males to compete against females in the surfing competition. What's your take on this story, Erica?
Well, I think that we need more and more people like Bethany to start speaking out. I think every time somebody with a large platform, uses their voice to stand up for all of the other people that know this is crazy, but are afraid to say something or can't say something, I think it makes a big difference. So, we've seen JK Rowling has come out and said that this kind of thing is ridiculous. We've seen athletes like Martina Navratilova, Caitlyn Jenner. There's a shot put champion who recently spoke out, I believe, in the past week or two. So again, to have another champion athlete sort of saying what we all know, which is that it is completely unfair to expect women to compete against people that were born male, people who are male. Again, I just think that this is really important, and she's going to get backlash. She's already getting backlash. I'm seeing that out there. But again, I think every time we have somebody with a big platform come out and say, this is insane, this is unfair. She says, where will women surfing be in 15 to 20 years if we allow men into the women's division? She's asking a totally fair question. The reality is, it could be nowhere, because it's just, you can't have men competing against women in athletics. It is, talk about an injustice. This is one for sure.
Erica, one of the questions that she asked, which is a really good question, and I wonder how you would answer it, is how are we seeing this playing out in other sports?
Well, at the high school level, we've seen, female track athletes lose their spots on the podium because schoolmates that were theirs that were running as males the previous year suddenly switch over to the girls division and begin winning all the races. And, that has huge consequences for girls, putting aside the fact that they go into the race knowing that they're not going to win or knowing that this is unfair. They also lose their opportunities to qualify for, regionals and different tournaments that then lead to, potential scholarships, et cetera. So we've seen this play out in lots of different ways. We've also seen it obviously in the pool with the University of Pennsylvania, the Leah Thomas swimmer. And again, it's just like, I think Martina Navratilova has basically said, like, if you ever had made me play singles against one of the guys, she's like, I wouldn't have won any matches. I mean, the serve alone, right, in tennis. And so it's like we all know this, but for whatever reason, this ideology has really captured a lot of people. And I think some have nefarious motives. I think others really, truly believe they're doing the right thing. But that's why we need so many more people like Bethany Hamilton to speak out and just say, this can't happen. You're going to destroy, in her case, surfing, women's surfing, but all of the sports at the end of the day will just crumble for women if we don't put a stop to this.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show, I'm Austin Peterson, and I'm speaking to Erica Sansy. She is from Defending Education. We're talking about a surfing star, Bethany Hamilton, who came out with a video over the weekend against trans exclusion in a female surfing competition. We're talking about the ideology that's pushing this, and sort of, I guess, it's not just the willfulness of the people who are pushing the ideology, but it's also the fear of people who are afraid to speak out. I mean, it was very brave of Bethany to do this. But the fact is there's a very good reason why she is afraid and why other people are afraid of speaking out, isn't there, Erica?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things that's been the most disheartening as I've watched this is that we see, whether it's elementary school girls who simply say that they don't feel comfortable being in the bathroom at the same time with boys or, male staff members, whether it's athletes talking about their discomfort in the locker room, or whether it's athletes talking about the fact that you're putting them in a situation where they have no chance of winning. They get called really terrible names for talking about their discomfort or for talking about how unfair this is. And I'm talking, they get called transphobic, they get called bigots. And so imagine now that, again, a woman who's feeling concerned for her safety or simply stating it's not fair for me to play against males, to say that that's seated in bigotry. So again, and most people out there, they're not going to put themselves out there if they know they're going to be publicly smeared. The other thing that we see happening, especially in K-12 schools, is that when the girls raise their concerns about these policies, they're not just, called names, but they're then told by their school officials, you can seek out alternative accommodations, and then you can speak with a counselor until you understand. So it's almost like what they're saying is that if you don't agree with this ideology, you need to be re-educated. And that is a scary place. And you can already see it happening online with Bethany. People who have long admired her have suddenly decided that they've lost all respect for her, that they're done with her, that she is an anti-trans person. There's no evidence that she's anti-trans. She's simply saying that when we're talking about athletic competitions, it is unfair to expect women to compete against men.
This is a complicated problem for, especially for men like myself, Erica, because on the one hand, I look at a scenario like this and I say, well, obviously this is ridiculous. If they want to have competitions, they should have separate competitions like what Erica proposed, right? It's ridiculous to expect that a biological female can compete against a biological male. On the other hand, right, with the complicated gender politics that we have today, we're in a situation, in a scenario where, for decades we have been told, as men, it's time to take a back seat to the women. It's time for us to get more women into the educational system, and now women are dominating in terms of going on and getting degrees. Women, if you're a woman, you're available for more scholarships and things like this. Now, there is a situation where you can imagine somebody might be doing this, and there was, I think, that swimmer Leah Thomas. Some people suspected that it might have just been because they did want to be a star, right? And they couldn't compete against other men, so they did something like this. But because of the complicated gender politics that we have today, there isn't really a lot of incentive for men to wade into this and to defend women, if you will, because we've been told for decades that she can take care of herself. Women are strong, they're independent. Whereas this postmodern feminist movement, which is where this is coming from, right, which is largely responsible for this gender politics, such as it is almost entirely a female-led and female, movement. When you go and you see these screaming blue-haired liberals on campus, it's 75% of them are young women who are upset and enraged about this. So I guess my question is like, what's the incentive for men to even get involved with this battle or to pick any fights at all when there's really no benefit at all for us to do something like this or get involved in this fight? It seems to be this is entirely a gendered battle of conservative women against liberal women. And I mean, at some point, could you understand why men would just say, ladies, you're just going to have to figure it out and fight it out for ourselves. We're just doing the best we can to try and get a spot in college right now and not worry about you ladies in sports because you've been granted every single opportunity at every turn and every scholarship at every turn. I mean, can you kind of understand that mindset at all?
Well, I definitely think that this is mostly, somebody described it to me as like a civil war among women.
Yeah.
And I don't think it breaks neatly down along political lines, actually. I
Mm.
think it is, again, it does break down along ideological lines. You certainly could say that it's progressive women against not just conservative women, but many, many lifelong liberal women and lifelong feminists who are so yes, I do see this as a conflict between women. And I think that the point about men feeling less inclined to weigh in, I certainly think that that is in part true. I think that we've seen that with other debates, right, where they're sort of told, sit down, shut up, if you don't have a uterus, you can't have an opinion. I mean, we've certainly heard those things.
Precisely.
But what I would say is there is a real opening here for dads. And we have seen some fathers really standing up. So again, because they're not only, first of all, they're men.
Some fathers are having their kids taken away from them. I saw this case out in California of a dad who's losing his child to transgender ideology, and the laws are so slanted against men in divorce proceedings or divorce courts or parental proceedings that, I mean, dads stand up. If you're a dad and you say anything in the state of California, they'll take your kid away from you.
Actually, the scary thing about that is that was in Texas, and the wife is fleeing to California because that's like a new sanctuary state for trans issues. So it was Texas, believe it or not, where he lost his children. But no, I mean, I think that you do make an important point. And again, like people who are working sort of in this gender field are absolutely saying like this appears to be almost like a war among women with two. And what's also interesting is you have suddenly like a lot of people who normally aren't allies are now allies, which is to say that the radical feminists who are absolutely, fighting because they're opposed to men being allowed in single sex spaces like domestic violence shelters, like prisons, for example, right? They are suddenly aligned with more conservative type people who are also opposed to men in single sex spaces, but who are also, opposed to this on a more sort of values-based and or ideological level. And the other thing that's important to know is that all the polling on this shows like this is a 70-30 issue, which basically means like this is a loser. Once people understand what's going on, party aside, like the vast majority of people know that biological men do not belong in women's bathrooms, women's locker rooms, on the sports fields, competing against women. I mean, they know this. And so I think the problem has been that this sort of was coming in slowly and quietly behind the scenes, where suddenly it escaped from academia, gender studies classes, and now it was rolling into nonprofits, corporations, and the K-12 school system. And then around 2020, it just sort of like steamrolled through. And so we're still at that stage where we're still working on awareness.
I hate to cut you off because I only got a couple minutes, but my friend Camelia over in the live stream, she has a really good, she brought up a good point, and I wonder, how you would respond to this. She talks about, we've already said it's okay and empowering for women to compete in men's sports. It's a double standard. How do you feel about is it appropriate for young women to play in football with men? I mean, just competing as women to play in the boys football team in high school?
So normally the men's has always been an open division and the girls has always been just for girls. So it is true that like over, that historically girls have been allowed to play with the boys. Although when
Is
we
that a
look
double
at what
standard?
in terms of advantage, no, it is not a double standard. I mean, when you look at the body composition, the muscle mass, the bone structure, the grip strength, it's not a double standard in terms of fairness.
Right.
So,
But
but I
it's okay for women to compete if at the expense of men, but it's not okay for men to compete at the expense of women. You see
I'd
what I'm
have
kind of do you kind
you'd
of see
have
where I'm
to.
going with this one where it's like
I no, I
y- y-
do, but
yeah.
you'd have to convince me that it's at the expense of men. So, for
Well, of course,
example, like
if she's
there's a
taking a
kicker.
if I mean, come on, you got to know that they're because of woke politics, they're going to put a female kicker in there just to do it, and to get the press and the attention and all that kind of stuff, and that's going to come at the expense of a young boy who might want to have that opportunity, and they're going to do that because of woke politics. So it just always seems as if no matter what, the men lose in this situation. And finally, with transgender men competing in women's sports, we've got Leah Thomas, and we've got some men who are actually winning some for the team, taking some girls spots, taking some girls scholarships and things like that. I mean, I'm kind of saying this a little bit as a joke, Erica, and in a
Oh,
funny
I get
way,
it.
but you kind of see the double standard that exists here that we're not addressing.
If the men's division hadn't always been considered an open division, I would agree with you. So if somebody can show me on paper where it says girls can't participate in the men's, but usually it has always been that the boys was more of an open division, and then the girls was specifically came about because of Title IX so that they could have opportunities, because without a girls division, they couldn't compete. Now, does that mean that there isn't going to be that weird moment, where they put somebody in, they make a huge deal about it? There's a female kicker on a football team that at one of my son's schools. Here's the thing, like I am not going to be able to get upset about that because
Right.
I have way too much. All of my bandwidth right now is focused on the injustice happening with girls and girls sports.
Sure.
But certainly if somebody brings me a case and they say, he lost his spot because of this person, I'd certainly be willing to take a look at it. It's just
Right,
not something right now.
I mean, you see what where I'm going with this, where it's like,
Oh, I see it.
I mean, you look at education, for example, and in terms of like, how many women are getting scholarships and how many women are getting admitted to universities and things like this. It's always men having to take a back seat to young women, right? It's always men having to take a back seat in all these situations. So that's why when I brought up the point about this being a female civil war, right, it's going to be hard to find male allies in this situation because for so long men have been told to take a back seat and to be put in a situation where there's just really not a lot of benefit for men to get involved with a fight like this. And at some point, like we were saying before, it's kind of like, ladies, you're going to have to figure this one out because there's not a
There's
lot
no
in it for
question
us.
right now.
Yeah.
There's no question right now that this is dominated by women. Again, dads are going to have to step up. They are going to have to step up for their daughters. But I think that you make a good point. The other thing I would say, though, is that it would really be helpful if a lot more male athletes would speak out, because obviously,
White male
Shaquille
athletes
O'Neal,
should speak
LeBron
out.
James, Charles
You-
Barkley, they know this is crazy.
Erica, do you know what would happen to a white male athlete if he dared to speak out against gender ideology? I mean, it's hard enough to try and maintain your sponsorships if you're white and try and get a sponsorship if you're white or male. You want them to speak out? You want dads to speak out who could lose,
Well,
whose mothers are going to take their kids and run to California? You want dads to speak out and then lose their, I mean, I'm just kind of like queuing this up because
I hear you.
the double standards that have existed for the last several generations between men and between men and women are rearing its ugly head in this situation. And we see these women now coming to us for help. And it's kind of like, you said you didn't need us. You said you didn't want us. And now when you're in trouble and you're drowning, you want us to throw you, a lifeboat. And it's just a tricky situation, Erica.
But I would push back and say it's the fourth wave feminists who said, we don't need you, we don't want you, right?
Mhm.
It's not the average woman out there. It's not me, it's not my mother, it's not my friends. I'm raising 3 sons. I have all sons. So believe me, like, this is a topic very close to my heart. But I would just remind people that the very loud, shrill voices that tell men to sit down and shut up and say, we don't need you, that's not most women. That's just people who have a very loud bullhorn and who have a outsized influence on policy.
Perhaps. Well, see, and there you go. And that's the problem. They might be a minority, but they are not a minority when it comes to the amount of power that they have in society that they can wield over men, and things like false accusations and things like deciding who gets a job or who gets a promotion at work, right? Men are in a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation where we are still expected to conform to gender norms that existed before the woke revolution. And now we have to still play by, not only do we have to be providers, not only do we have to be strong, not only do we have to step up, but now we have to step up and play, put our families on the line and put our careers on the line and take a risk of going against these woke politics and gender. I mean, how can we provide and be those men and those traditional men that women claim that they want if our entire career and our reputation is at stake every time we say something that might go against it? So that there's, if we don't address the double standards in society, right, that are at play here, then this transgender ideology will continue to dominate. And I think we lose this cultural battle here, and girls will lose too, unfortunately, if we don't address the double standards that exist. Erica, this was an awesome conversation, really fun. Where can people find out more about your work?
So our organization is Parents Defending Education. Our website is defendinged.org. So you can find us there. We're also at Defending Ed on Twitter, and we also have a Facebook page and a YouTube channel.
Erica, you're a great guest. This was an awesome conversation. Thanks so much for going back and forth with me and, batting around these difficult issues.
I could talk about boys and men. I'd love to talk about that another time, because
we should do that. Let's have you back
I
here
write
to
about
talk
and
about.
Think about a lot.
Yeah, let's talk about that another time. We'll definitely have you back. Erica, you're an awesome guest. Thank you very much for your time today. We appreciate you.
Take care, Austin. Thanks.
There you go. Follow her online, Erica Sansy. Wasn't she great? What did you think of that conversation? Pretty interesting stuff, right? She did a really good job answering those difficult questions. I think we'll definitely have her back. All right, I'm going to go take a really quick commercial break, and I promise this time that I won't play 2 commercials at the same time. When I get back, we're going to talk about how one judge says it's unconstitutional to say that you can't have your guns and your marijuana. So marijuana is now legal in the state of Missouri. In the Wake Up America Show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hey there, it's your favorite Vice President Joe Biden. I wanted to talk to you today about the Wake Up America show, the best source for all your political news and commentary. But before I get started, let me just make sure I have all my notes in order. Okay, where was I? All right, the Wake Up America show. It's a great way to stay informed and make your voice heard. Boy, what was I saying again? Oh, right. The Wake Up America show. It's important that we all stay engaged and knowledgeable about what's going on in our country and, the thing. But hold on, where was I going with all this? Oh, yeah. The Wake Up America show. It's a fantastic resource. And if you really want to make a difference, man, you can sign up to be a monthly donor at wakeupamericashow.com/support. Now, where was I? Oh, that's right, the Wake Up America show. So if you want to stay woke and support a great cause, head on over to wakeupamericashow.com/support and sign up to be a monthly donor today. And if you're feeling generous, you can even give a donation in my name. Thanks for listening, and keep on keeping on, America. Come on, man.
I'm George. Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mum, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great. Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me pups build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. What did you think of that interview with Erica Sansy? I tell you, that was the first time she's been on the show, and she did a really good job, because typically free market think tanks or, right of center groups like that, they know me, they know who I am, and they know that, I'm a friend, I'm a freedom fighter. So, these are the circles that I run in. So they probably don't expect that when they come on my show, they're not necessarily going to get easy questions. I'm not necessarily known for giving softball interviews. I mean, it does happen from time to time that we'll have somebody on the show, and I may not necessarily pepper them with difficult questions, but for those who know my work and background in reporting and journalism, the fact is that it's far more interesting, and my curious, inquisitive mind just wants to think about all of the ins and outs of the situation. And don't you think that an interview is more interesting if it's actually, I won't say confrontational, but just it's got a little more pepper, huh? A little bit more spice. Right, speaking of sweet and spicy, my lovely wife, Stephanie Peterson, does such a great job making awesome merch for the AP for Liberty shop. And Nathan, last week, our new employee, has done a great job taking over the responsibilities. He's been getting out the merchandise out on the social media networks. He's been doing a great job getting them set up, setting up the show, learning all the little ins and outs of how things work. Well, my lovely wife, Steffi, she actually made a bunch of new merchandise over the weekend. We've got this new series called I Survived. This is the I Survived the DMV shirt, you can see, which I actually think is really funny. You can get this at the AP for Liberty shop website. This was funny. I really want this one. I Survived the DMV short sleeve tee. And as you can see, our prices at the AP for Liberty shop are really reasonable. Don't forget, if you're a monthly sponsor too, you get a 20% discount. So you definitely want to check that out. For anybody who has, by the way, like a monthly sponsorship, like you can see Amanda Henry, she's got the little gold bars next to her name, which means that she's a monthly supporter. But if you're a monthly supporter over on the website and you don't have your discount code, make sure you drop me a DM and I'll send that over to you, because you do get a 20% discount. And look at this. I mean, these are great products at a great price. You just don't get these anywhere else. Also, Steffi made this really cute one over the weekend. Check this out. This is our I Survived series. She made the I Survived Chinese Spy Balloon 2023. And the funny thing about this is that we actually were kind of going back and forth. We almost made this shirt, I Survived Chinese Spy Balloon 2023. But we decided against it, and we said, I Survived Chinese Spy Balloon. Just because people might be like, what the hell is Balloon? I Survived Chinese Spy Balloon. And look at that, only $15. But if you're not the type of I know a lot of people wear t-shirts in the winter, but some people are like, oh, I need a hoodie. Well, guess what? We got it in a hoodie. You can find the Chinese Spy Balloon in a hoodie, as well as I Survived the DMV in a hoodie. So the funny thing too is, like, look, it's an Asian chick. The ad for the shirt, right? Well, and in terms of like a hoodie, like a custom hoodie like this, that's actually a really good price. A lot of times you buy like brand new hoodies, it'll be like $40. There is a shipping and handling fee. It's like $4 or something like that. So it's actually not too bad. It comes out to not too much. So check it out. You can get the I Survived Chinese Spy Balloon, or you can get your I Survived the DMV sweatshirt or t-shirt over at the site. Look at that. I Survived the DMV. That's actually a really attractive hoodie. If you look at that, I survived the DMV. I mean, that's a perfect libertarian shirt. And then Steffi also is she's making new products pretty much every single day. So check it out. Again, if you're not a monthly sponsor, I mean, it makes sense in terms, like, you'll probably save money on your first purchase if you do just the $2.99 a month on the YouTube subscriber, right? So if you go over to on the YouTube channel and you subscribe for $2.99 a month, then you can save 20%, which if you bought a hoodie, I think you'd save more money than you would spend just sign up for the monthly subscriber. Otherwise, you can just, of course, buy it straight up, right? And we get all the monies. Well, we get all the monies anyway because we're awesome, right? And you don't get great content like this just anywhere. Doesn't fall from trees. But things are good. I'll tell you this. In terms of this enterprise and how the Wake Up America show is going, we are all, each month, right, since we started in September, we've been growing. Subscribers have been growing. We started last month with like 10,800 subscribers, and we're like now, I think I'm looking at our numbers right now. We've added like 7,700 subscribers in the last month, in the last 28 days. And it started the traffic and the excitement about the president, because the president video has been kind of falling off a little bit. 2.7 million views in the last 30 days. Yeah, I know. Big stuff. And then in terms of like our audience, we went from having like 10,500 subscribers on YouTube to now 18,231 subscribers. So it's been pretty exciting. And in terms of like sustainability for our monthly subscribers and like the shop and everything, and now we've taken on a new employee, we are about I would say, if I'm going to estimate, about 70% of the way towards sustainability. So we probably burn about 30% more a month in terms of expenses for the show and all the associated expenses related to it, because it costs a lot of money. Internet, like the thing that I use to multi-stream, that software, $50, right? There's all these little expenses, like all these different like software tools that I use to make this show. Adobe Express, $50 a month, and all that stuff, and all the licensing and everything. But we are on the path towards sustainability, and it's been growing, because at first it was like 60%, of expenses and things like that. But now we're it was like 40%, right? And we're had like 60% burn rate, but now we're about 30%. So we're getting closer to, the show is earning almost 100% of what it costs to run the show. So again, every monthly subscriber that helps like create that sort of sustainability, so that once we hit 100%, at that point in time, I can go ahead and know that I can invest more, perhaps bring Nathan from part-time to full-time, maybe even find another another employee, and have them start working on more content creation and things like that. Maybe even expanding into new YouTube channels and start working in subgenres. Like I said, I do want to move from these like 1 minute history videos that I've been doing into more long form documentaries. I'd like to do live action documentaries about like Murray Rothbard and Friedrich Hayek, and I'd like to do one about Ludwig von Mises and his flight from Austria from the Nazis. Right, and like bring these characters to life, like The Tale of the Negative Railroad by Frederick Bastiat. I'd like to recreate the French Parliament in the 1700s, or excuse me, the 1800s, when Frederick Bastiat lived, and hire an actor who looks like him. And I want to get to that point where we can tell these stories of our heroes of liberty in a way that brings them to more people. But those kinds of things cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to like $1 million to make really good like documentaries and feature films. I've written my film script thanks to help with ChatGPT for a Lysander Spooner movie. So just think about that. That's the future. Those are my long-term goals. And making this show sustainable and then profitable means that I will then take those profits, reinvest them back into this production company, so that we can have, well, like I say, a libertarian Daily Wire. I think it would be awesome, and definitely, people like yourself are helping to make it happen. So you can text the show today at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Dustin says Austin tells us everything. That's why we love him. Yeah, I've just let you know where we're at. Okay, so let's talk about the news. Harry Potheads are mad. Harry Potheads are mad. I'll go ahead and put a demonstration in the background while we talk about this story. There's this new video game called Hogwarts Legacy. Harry Potter Hogwarts Legacy. And I'm a big video game fan. I don't know about you, but if you're not, I don't think it's going to matter because we're gonna I'm gonna tell you about why this is important. I think culturally. I'm sorry I missed the marijuana and gun story. I will get to that a little bit later, but we're already in 8:06. And since I skipped a commercial break, I'm going to go ahead and hit that 8 o'clock story. Harry Potter game in a judgment-free world. Hogwarts Legacy's judgment-free world doesn't make sense. So for those of you who don't play video games, and I'll tell you why I think this is important. Video games are the largest entertainment industry in the world. It's bigger than sports. It's bigger than television. It's bigger than movies. Video games is the largest form of entertainment. So when I grew up, and people who are my age and older, they love to write off video games and say, oh, it's a waste of time, or it's kids, it doesn't matter. But it's a huge industry, multi-billion dollar industry, and it's only going to get bigger. And it's not going away. And I think that in the future, pretty much everybody will game if they don't like already. So the question about its cultural relevance is, I think, irrelevant because it is culturally relevant. Video games are culture and they make culture. A lot of people have been watching this new show called Last of Us. And that's a video game, right? And it used to be that video game movies were terribly and uninspired. And of course, movies also inspire video games, and sometimes they're terrible. But this new video game, Hogwarts Legacy, is interesting in that it is going to be what we call a judgment-free world. So just Reader's Digest version, what happened with JK Rowling, if you don't already know, the creator of the Harry Potter book series, she's been sort of cast out after the attempts to submit her to a struggle session because of her views on gender biology. She believes that a woman is a woman. She believes that women should guard their femininity and their womanhood, and that while she doesn't, like the Bethany Hamilton surfer girl earlier, while she doesn't dislike trans people or think that they should be discriminated against, she thinks that it's important for women to protect their femininity, their womanhood, which I completely understand. But of course, that means that she's been cast out. And the majority of Harry Potter fans, for a large degree, they weren't, conservatives, right? Conservatives, for a large part, weren't letting their kids read Harry Potter book. They were saying, Harry Potter should be banned from books because it's witchcraft, and Harry Potter is a witch, and he should be burned. So this is why a lot of the cultural Harry Potter fans largely come from the left because occult and all that witchcraft and all that kind of stuff. It's not your typical conservative fare. I mean, if you want to try and disagree with me on that, you can, but you're just wrong. Okay. So of course, since most of Harry Potter fans were leftists and liberals, right, the pink-haired types, they're going to have that social justice warrior attitude about when it comes to issues like transgender issues. So of course, JK Rowling being cast out, it makes perfect sense. Well, the issue, of course, is that she owns all of these properties. And while apparently she's not directly involved with the creation of this new video game, which is massive, and it's going to be a massive video game, no matter what anybody says, like the calls for boycotts or protests, people are going to want to be Harry Potter flying on a broom playing Quidditch. They're going to want to cast magic spells, and while there have been Harry Potter video games in the past, this is kind of like the first sort of open world attempt to create an open world, what we call Harry Potter game, which like a AAA open world Harry Potter game, which is very lifelike, very realistic, sort of the type of experience that you might have with and again, I hate to use terms that you might not use, but like Mass Effect or Skyrim for those who might know. uh, Kind of a video game. So it's going to be the biggest thing in the world when it releases, which is coming out very soon. But when you play a lot of these video games, like role-playing games, one of the things that makes them interesting is the moral choices that you make. You can choose when you're role-playing what your character is like. Maybe some of you from the 70s played Dungeons and Dragons. And if you did, then you realized that your character had a sort of an alignment, right? And I'll get to why I think this is important culturally relevant for your day, for your water cooler talk later at work in just a moment. But in these video games, you make moral choices. Fable was one game where that kind of popularized this concept of, if you make a good moral decision, if you decide to help a beggar by the road instead of spitting on him or stealing his money or something like that, there were consequences for that. If you decided to make a positive moral decision, the game's outcome and endings would change, right? Just like in real life, if you kick a homeless person on the street, right, your potential future wife, who might have been standing across the street, she might, reject you and decide not to talk to you. But if you help that beggar, she might see you and come and talk to you, and you get to know her, and she loves you, and you have kids, and that's your future, right? Just like in the real world. So the video games that do this well and are really fun and interesting. And it makes it so that you want to play through it a few times because, well, what happens if I make my character a thief, but he's a good-hearted thief? He's like Robin Hood. He steals from the poor and steals from the rich and gives to the poor, or something like that. And all these moral decisions have impacts. Well, because of the left's value-free worldview, Hogwarts Legacy, which is not being controlled by JK Rowling, I imagine, of course, she profits from it, is what is being created in what they are calling a judgment-free world. Meaning that the thing that makes video games interesting in the first place, this game will be largely devoid of if these articles that I'm reading are to be believed. So what I'm reading right now is Hogwarts Legacy, this new video game that's coming out, will be a judgment-free world, which doesn't make any sense, right? So this is a game that will have a system that is judgment-free, no judges, right? So Hogwarts Legacy is coming out, and apparently the developers have made these controversial decisions regarding the main narrative and the player's abilities, and it lacks any kind of morality system to keep them in check. So morality systems, like I just explained to you, have been around for a long time and affect the impact of or the outcome of what happens in the game, right? If you play some other games, you would see things like this, right? There's not any correct answer to what the decisions are that you make, just moral choices, just like reality. But of course, if you are going to play a game like this, part of the interesting thing is that if you commit an evil act, and in Harry Potter's world, there are what they call in the books, if you've read them or seen the movies, they have what they're called unforgivable curses. And these unforgivable curses are things that can land you in prison, Azkaban prison. If you torture someone with the Cruciatus curse, Crucio, or if you, if you murder someone, Avada Kedavra, right? If you commit or if you cast any of these spells against another wizard or, I think even a regular human being, a muggle, if you will, then there are no moral judgments for that, which basically sort of destroys the whole concept of Harry Potter. Because in the books and in the movies, like there's good and evil, right? Without a moral outcome to the behaviors that you engage in, then there is no concept of good and evil, right? Then it doesn't matter if I go out and kick the homeless person and steal his money, right? If there's no judgment in a judgment-free world, if I did something like that, and there's no sense of moral compass, then a person who commits a crime is just as valid or just as good as someone who spends their entire life doing charity for children. Is a person who helps orphans and does charity for the homeless, is that person just as good as a person who steals from them, who kicks them, who murders them? Right? So this is the value-free, judgment-free world that the left wants to impose, that the left is trying to impose in the real world, that is being apparently, again, reflected in this game, if it is to be believed, at least according to this video game website that I was reading today called Game Rant, and the title is Why Hogwarts Legacy's Judgment-Free World Doesn't Make Sense. Anyways, I just think that it's interesting. Also, in Harry Potter related news, Hogwarts Legacy community, so their online community, this is where all the nerds and purple-haired basement dwellers, Harry Potter lovers, Harry Potter, the people who read like fan fiction and like draw terrible fan art of them, like Hermione breastfeeding, are apparently banning discussion in true leftist fashion, banning discussion of JK Rowling for 3 years in this subreddit forum that's dedicated to this video game, Hogwarts Legacy. So, I mean, Reddit is like a left socialist hellhole. It's absolutely terrible. So you would expect something like this, but it's just kind of amazing that the woman who created this whole series, without whom this video game wouldn't exist, the people who are moderating the forums dedicated to discussion about the video game are banning discussion about her for 3 years. So, by the way, small Austin Harry Potter ranter right now, not understanding what JGJ is trying to decide. So here's the thing, of course, the mods are big fans of LGBTQ plus plot, whatever. They're deserving of dignity, respect, and inclusion. So there is a ban on discussion of Harry Potter author JK Rowling. So the decision has been made. They would keep the discussion focused on the game away from political arguments, which I guess I can understand to one degree. But I mean, in some sense, I mean, it's important for us to have these discussions. I just love that they have to ban discussions that they don't agree with. And, you know, it's fantastic to me because I just think it's interesting to see the left eat each other, don't you? Yes, I do. Yes. I'm going to go take a little commercial break because my voice is starting to get tired because I haven't taken many commercial breaks today. No, I'm going to go take one real quick and I'll be right back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Good morning to the Cantina crew. This is Elon Musk, the CEO of Twitter. And I just want to say thank you for watching the Wake Up America Show. I've decided that Austin Peterson will be the new CEO of Twitter.com, effective immediately. First thing to do, though, is I've got to go and blast off into space.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that at the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
What would happen if I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors? What would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? So you can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be. There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state. Reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty Shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. The days when Nathan isn't in the studio, I don't have somebody to tell me or give me a signal that the video isn't playing in the background. I thought the Harry Potter video game video was playing in the background. I'm sorry. I know, I'm sorry, but that's what you get. Things are going really well over here at the Wake Up America Show, and we're glad to have you as a listener. Make sure you hit that like button if you're watching us over on YouTube. If you're new to the channel and you just recently subscribed and you're wondering what the heck this is all about, this is our Monday through Friday daily news talk show. You might have come in here because you saw my Guns of the Presidents videos, or perhaps you saw some of my other history or philosophy videos. Well, this is our morning news live talk show. I hope you'll come back and join us again in the future. All right, so got some good news this morning. We're pretty excited to see. This is a big question for a lot of libertarians, especially. A federal judge in Oklahoma has ruled that a federal law prohibiting people who use marijuana from owning firearms is unconstitutional. Yes, that's right. The latest challenge to firearms regulations comes after this U.S. Supreme Court majority set new standards for reviewing the nation's gun laws. Now we need to see them get rid of that ATF pistol brace rule that just came down from Biden. Yeah, I know. This is good stuff. This morning, though, some good news. Lawyers for Jared Michael Harrison had argued that their client's Second Amendment right to bear arms was being violated by a federal law that makes it illegal for, quote, unlawful users or addicts of controlled substances to possess? What are you trying to say, Austin? This Harrison character had been charged after he was arrested in Oklahoma following a traffic stop. During a search of his car, police found a loaded revolver as well as marijuana. Yes, it's illegal in a lot of places. That'll get your guns taken away pretty quick. Harrison told police he had been on his way to work at a medical marijuana dispensary, but that he did not have a state-issued medical marijuana card. See, that's the thing, is if you got weed, you need to have a gun to protect yourself from people who are going to try to steal your weed. His lawyers had argued that the portion of federal firearms law focused on drug user addicts was not consistent with the nation's historic tradition of firearms regulation. They echoed what the Supreme Court ruled last year in a case known as New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin. In that case, set new standards for the Second Amendment. The federal prosecutors had argued that the portion of the law focused on drug users is, quote, consistent with a long-standing historical tradition in America of absolute tyranny. No, actually, they said it's consistent with a long-standing historical tradition in America of disarming presumptively risky persons, namely felons, the mentally ill, and the intoxicated. No. JGJ asking the real questions over there. Is it illegal to be drunk and using a gun like drunk driving, or is there something different? I'll tell you, a lot of them, in Missouri, there's a lot of drunk people who like to fire their guns. I'll just say that. Not me, though. Always gun safety is very important. Federal prosecutors coming after this guy. Well, now they are in a sorry state of affairs because freedom is on the march. You know what? I need a bald eagle scream here. Since I don't have a bald eagle scream.
How dare you?
I know. I need to get myself a bald eagle scream. Like, well, don't you think I need to get something like that and put that in there? Whenever like something like purely American comes out, right? Like the bald eagle scream. I need a sound effect. Bald eagle scream. America. You said it. I sang it, but you said the bad word, didn't you? You said the bad word. Come again to save the mother world, yeah. Terrorists, your game is through. Because now you have to answer to. Amanda Henry asking the real questions over the live stream. Do AP and Steffi smoke doobies? Both Austin and AP and Steffi have asthma, so we don't smoke anything. Aww. I know. Don't be so disappointed. Wyrick, here's what the judge says. U.S. District Judge Patrick Wyrick agreed with Harrison's lawyers, yes, not the feds, ruling that federal prosecutors' arguments that That's next. Harrison's status as a marijuana user, quote, justifies stripping him of his fundamental right to possess a firearm, and it is not a constitutionally permissible means of disarming Harrison. Hooray! All the liberals and the feds right now. Cry, bitches. Cry. The judge went on and said, but the mere use of marijuana carries none of the characteristics that the nation's history and traditions of firearms regulation supports. You love it. This guy was, by the way, Chris Morrill, you're not going to like this. He was appointed by former President Donald Trump. What do you mean, boo? If there's one thing that Donald Trump did right, and he did a lot of things right, but one of the things that he did right was his judges that he appointed. Can I get an amen? Get me an amen. I know, Chris, you're like, Donald Trump. I don't want to annoy you this morning because I'm just glad you're here. The ruling came after a 3-day judge panel, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals in New Orleans on last Thursday, that ruled the government can't stop people who have domestic violence restraining orders against them from owning guns. Oh, damn. Perfect. The panel referenced the Bruin decision. That Bruin decision the Supreme Court made has been just popping off all kinds of freedoms all over the place. In September, a federal judge in Midland, Texas, ruled that a firearms law that bans those under felony indictment from buying guns is unconstitutional. That's interesting. In that case, U.S. District Court, also a Trump appointee, also echoed the Supreme Court's language in the Bruin case, saying there was little evidence the ban related to being under indictment aligns with this nation's historical tradition. I know. The liberals are like, what do you mean? You want felons or people who are under suspicion of being felons from having their gun rights being taken away? I'm like, yeah, it's called due process, bitch. Suck it up. It's called due process for a reason. I know that people like to say, I like to take the guns first and then due process later. But people like me like to say that until you've been convicted in a court of law, you can't lose your rights. And yeah, that means that it's going to be a dangerous world. Oh, it's going to be a dangerous world. But you know what? That's what freedom means, bitches. It's a dangerous world out there, and I love it. Yes, I love it. And I think that it is good, and I can't wait. I can't wait to see liberals melting down over this one. Aren't you excited? Yes. Go Oklahoma. Oklahoma, where the wind comes, where the marijuana and guns are flowing free. Dust where the waving weed can sure smell sweet when the wind comes right behind the guns. Dustin says, I'm 100% disabled veteran. Medical marijuana, yes, and unable to have a gun until now. Dustin, thank you for your service, by the way, brother. Disabled veteran. Wow. We appreciate you very much, sir. Give him another round of applause there for Dustin. Guess what? Well, so here's the thing. I don't know if you can have a gun now. Maybe you can. But I don't think that I don't know if this might only apply to that district or something like that. One of the things that it's not saying here is whether or not that overturns, because the problem is that the NFA, the form for buying a gun, if you want to buy a gun in the future, you have to sign the form that says that you are not addicted to a substance, right? And like marijuana is considered on the substance level for the NFA. So technically, you might be able to own a gun, but you can't buy any guns in the future because you have to check that form. So here's the problem: that you might not be able to. You can own the guns and the marijuana, Dustin, but I'm not sure if you can buy a new gun. At least, I mean, you can. I'm not saying lie on the form or anything. I'm just saying that the form exists, and until that form is changed, which I think probably has to come from an executive order, which of course, do you think is going to happen under Joe Biden? Yeah, I don't know about that. So it's hard to say whether or not you can actually do that. So I'm not entirely sure. I'm going to have to figure it out. All right. What about unsexy habits that are demolishing your likability? Yeah, I got some. A list of unsexy habits that are demolishing your likability. There have been very few commercials in the show, I just want to say. So all 35 of you who are over there on YouTube right now, you can't leave. Just because I'm going to go to a commercial break. I just need to rest my voice for a minute. It's a lot of talking because I don't have a lot of guests today. I'm going to go take a little break. go to the bathroom, and when I come back, you will have stayed here. You will stay here. You will stay here. These are not the droids you're looking for. These are not the droids you're looking for. We will be right back, and I'll give you a list of things that are list of unsexy habits of yours. We'll talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Donald Trump and I approve this message. Believe me, Austin Peterson is the best. He's got the greatest Wake Up America show I've ever seen. Whenever I tune in the mornings and watch the live stream, let me tell you, he has got the absolute best content. I love his guests. It's just a total blast to watch, and I highly endorse and recommend the Wake Up America show. It's terrific, believe me.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bullshit. This is my Dee-Dee's website, and I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bullshit is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bullshit is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Dee-Dee made Frenchy Bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Dee-Dee really likes it. Dee-Dee said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake, yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes, you like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bullshit. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bullshit blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
any real-world experience.
It's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Nice to see you here today. You can text us at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. You can also send us a super chat to help support the channel and the show, and you get your chat read on air over at youtube.com/AP for Liberty if you're watching us on any of our other platforms. If you're wondering where all the commenters are and chatters are, you're saying to yourself, wow, nobody must watch this stream. Well, they're all over on YouTube, which is where I ask people to come and join us. It's a great place to be, but I know some places, some people are like, I don't want to support big tech, so I'm over on Rumble. Well, you can watch us on Rumble too, or wherever you like, or Facebook as well. Happy to have you over there if you don't want to join us on YouTube. That's your choice. Unsexy habits that are demolishing your likability. Can you believe that? Boy, this show really flies by. It's almost over. 7 unsexy habits that are demolishing your likability. When people tell you that you shouldn't care what people think of you, they're wrong. The complexity of social dynamics cannot be resolved with such oversimplified advice. Now, you shouldn't pay too much attention to what a single person or people think of a single decision or action of yours. However, you should care about the overall general opinion that people have of you, because if everyone thinks you're an asshole, well, you probably are. Here are 7 unsexy habits that are demolishing your likability. This is a big one too, and I like this first one here on the list, and that is breaking micro promises. You know, in day-to-day life, we make a lot of micro promises to one another, right? I'm going to return your car by 7 p.m. I'll meet you at the coffee house at noon, or I'll do the dishes tonight, darling, blah, 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 right? And people often break those little promises thinking that it's harmless, right? Or, maybe you're unpunctual, right? Over and over again, but it's actually not harmless. People pay attention to those kinds of things, right? These little micro promises will build up, and cumulatively, people will respect you less because if you keep breaking your word, right? And they're going to hold a subconscious grudge against you because breaking promises feels deceitful to them. I promise I'll wash my mug out in the sink, right? Something like that, like micro promises. So don't make promises you don't keep, I think, is the simple rule there, right? And if you're unable to keep a promise that you made, inform them and apologize. And I think people will respect you for that. Number 2, and this is a really big bugaboo for me. Boy, this one really bugs the hell out of me, honestly. Not being able to take a joke, right? Aren't you sick of people who they just are serially unhappy, and they're just completely humorless. They don't understand. Like, I get this person who hits me up all the time and just like asks me to explain my memes. I kid you not. Somebody actually hits me up and is like, I don't get it, right? As if I'm supposed to explain it to you.
Why are you gay?
But I don't need to sit down and explain to you why a SpongeBob meme is funny, dude. If you don't get it, just move on, right? And I'm certainly not going to sit there and have a long, drawn-out discussion with you about why my meme is funny, because all of my memes are fucking hilarious, right? But people can't take jokes. I mean, obviously the left is incapable of taking a joke, right? You can't joke about anything, gender, sex, boys, girls, whatever it is. You can't make jokes about anything, right? But people, of course, and it's hard, taking a joke at your own expense, right? My tactic for that, because I sometimes have a hard time taking a joke at my expense, is I make fun of myself first, right? And typically that's honestly the best way to do it. Yeah, make fun of yourself first. If you're worried about like being able to take criticism or something like that, if you make fun of yourself first, then if somebody else can't make fun of you for the same thing. Because like picture whatever like your fault is. I used to do this when I was like campaigning for office. I would like make a joke about one of my scandals, whatever you call that, right? I know. Can you believe it? I had scandals.
Oh God!
That's true.
No, God, please,
Yeah.
no.
And so what I would do
No!
is I would make some kind of a
No!
mention to it. That way, if some like angry conservative or angry liberal or whoever it was, there's always conservatives who are angry at me, right? Because I'm not, I'm insufficiently conservative, which apparently was a big attack. An attack piece was written against me this last weekend because I'm in a debate in Towson, Maryland, here February 22nd. I'm going to be going to Maryland and debating this Groyper chick. But yeah, I was considered to be insufficiently conservative or what have you. So I would make a joke about whatever the scandal was, even like with libertarians. Like a lot of libertarians, by the way, are very unfunny and unable to take a joke as well. And it's kind of like there a lot of libertarians are social justice warriors as well. Yeah, tell you, it is. It's pretty. They are completely unfunny, humorless. Because a lot of us have Asperger's. Libertarianism causes autism. That's just a joke. Like nothing. Develop thicker skin, right? Steer into the skid, right? Somebody makes fun of you, learn to join them and laugh at yourself, right? And here's the thing: if they're hateful and you join in and you start to like make even like more fun of yourself and continue on them, number one, they're going to feel completely disarmed, because if they actually dislike you, then you're going to steal their thunder if you can make fun of yourself better than they can. And then two, if they don't actually know anything about you, because a lot of people will hate you and they don't know you. If you can do that, you might actually turn them into friends. Guys do this kind of stuff all the time, where they'll start as like bitter enemies and then they end up as best friends. And I think I've had people like that. Probably, honestly, one of the guys, there's this guy that I know, and I will never, ever forget it. When I was in Colorado, when I was running for president, and I appeared at the Colorado debate. I was invited to the debate initially, and then I was disinvited from the debate because libertarians are unable to compute with things that disagree with their primary worldview as well. Because I was calling into question the non-aggression principle and poking at some of the holes in that base of the base of that philosophy. And so I was disinvited from the debate in Colorado, but I was like, I'm showing up anyway, right? And I violated the non-aggression principle, and I went where I wasn't invited, and I showed up and I debated anyway. But I'll never forget, this guy came up to me, and he was the guy who was responsible for putting my microphone on. And he came up and he goes, and I apologize for the language here, but he said, Austin, boy, you're a real piece of shit, aren't you? And he put his arm on my shoulder and stuff like that, and he thought he was going to get my goat. And honestly, I just turned to look, because I felt so badass showing up somewhere, like, because they told me not to come, and I showed up anyway and like demanded my spot on the stage and got it, right? And then just dominated the debate, like I always do, and like I will at the end of this month. Bragging. But I'll never forget, he said, Austin, you're a real piece of shit, aren't you? And I just remember I looked at him and I go, you know what? You got guts saying that to my face, because most people call me that. And a lot of people call me names or attack me and things like that. And they're all keyboard warriors. But you had the guts to actually put your physical hands on me, knowing that I could beat your ass easily because I know karate, but and he called me a piece of shit to my face, and I was like, you know what? I got respect for that. And you know what? We're friends to this day. I know, right? Hilarious. It's true. That's right. That's right. So the next one here: unsexy habits that are demolishing your likability. Extravagant fault finding, Camellia.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell no, man. What the man? Get your ass on, boy.
We've all met that person, right? The one who claims that everyone's stupid. They're like Sherlock when it comes to finding people's flaws. A lot of women are like this anyway when it comes to dating, but like, they're just very, very good at finding what's wrong with someone, right? And usually a lot of times these people will criticize others for having a flaw that they possess as well. Isn't that ironic, right? But it happens because of our egos. When we criticize others on something, we subconsciously are telling ourselves, I'm better than him in this area. I do not have this flaw, right? Even if that's false, right? That's why highly insecure people criticize everyone over everything, because they think everyone else is flawed. And the truth is, we have a tendency to find flaws in others, right? First, try not to point out other people's flaws, right? But let's be honest, we find flaws no matter how hard we're trying not to. So whenever you do point out someone's flaw, try and follow it up with a statement, but that's okay. We're all very young right now. I shouldn't expect people to be perfect or whatever it is, blah, blah, blah. that reinforces in your mind, of course, that everybody has flaws and they don't need to be pointed out over and over again. Okay.
No, God!
I know. You're some of you
No,
very
God,
disappointed
please,
about that.
no!
Right. Here's another one too. And this is a one that's really hard for especially willful people that we know. Overstepping your power. That's a big one, right? We're all part of hierarchies, okay? Right? So, maybe you are a junior resident at a hospital, okay? Or you're an intern or things like that. And I've seen this happen all the time where people are just, they'd go, over and above and beyond the proper hierarchy that's set in place. It's not to say that you shouldn't be a go-getter and that sometimes you do need to escalate things over the boss's head. And I'm not trying to keep you down under a capitalist hierarchy or whatever it is, right? But the fact is that, right, is that it's not good to always go over everybody's head, okay? Right? To try and do that, to try and advance yourself, right? Like go through proper channels sometimes, okay? Not all the times, right? There's always exceptions to the rule, but the rule should be that it's a good idea to work through the hierarchy that you have, right? And if you're in a position of power over someone, though, don't overstep, right? People will hate you for that as well. Here's another one, and this is another one that I struggle with, and I think I've gotten better at it in years, but I still kind of suck at it. Giving advice I wasn't asked for. God, I get so sick of it. I get so much unsolicited advice. I get so much unsolicited advice.
How dare you?
I know. I'm tired of it. It gets old. Every single day I'm getting something in my direct messages, my inbox. You should do this. You should do that. You should do that. And it's kind of like, it would be one thing if it was like, my friends who are supporting the show. So if you wanted to see more something in a show, right? Or giving us advice is like, hey, Austin, you ought to try doing this in the show and stuff like that. And if you're a member of Peterson's Patriots, I'm going to listen to you, right? Because you're supporting me. But most of the people who are giving me advice have zero skin in the game. They don't care about the outcome. They just want to tell you what to do, but they're certainly not going to implement it, right? Are you the type of person who likes to give advice that wasn't asked for? Well, stop it. Stop it, okay? It's friggin' annoying. I'm sick of it, right? If somebody asks for it, you're good to go, right? That's fine, right? But when it's unasked, more often than not, it's not taken in good faith, right? Because it's taken as criticism, right? Even if your intention was to help, right? Any advice, of course, is just a proxy statement that I know better, and the person that you're giving advice to doesn't want to acknowledge or accept that you know better, right? Don't give advice unless the person asks for it. Only very rarely, right? When you know that that person is going to take that advice in good faith, do you actually give unasked advice, right? There are always exceptions to the rule, but people have ideas for you, Austin. Yes, I know people have a lot of ideas and they have no fucking clue how difficult it is to produce this show every single day, getting guests, getting topics, technical aspects, financial aspects. They have no freaking clue and they have no vested interest in the outcome and they have no skin in the game, right? So, I mean, I'm just using myself as an example, but you probably have the situation the same. You've got people who are giving you unasked for advice about how to do something, and they have absolutely no interest in the outcome of what happens. It would be one thing, like if you're in a team of investors or something like that, and somebody's giving you advice about doing something because they have an interest in the outcome. But most people who are giving you this unasked for advice, they don't have any skin in the game. They're not invested, right? So ultimately, they don't care what the outcome is, and they probably have no fucking clue what it takes to do what it is that you're doing anyway. So they're from a position of ignorance. God, it's so annoying, right? It also matters how you give advice. Know your place, right? Remember the hierarchy, right? Unsolicited advice. Yes, you're tired of it, Amanda. I appreciate you as well. Well, since you brought it up, you need to, says Brian Lewis. Here's another one, and this is one that I'm terrible at, I will admit, whipping out your phone all the time. When you're out meeting a friend or friends, people will often whip out their phones, and you don't realize how annoying it is to the person in front of you, right? When you whip out your phone, except for a genuine need to, right, you subconsciously convey, my phone is more interesting than you. And that hurts. It does. It stings, right? Hurts people's feeling, right? Don't keep your phone on the table, neither face up nor face down. Keep it in your pocket, right? Give due attention to the person in front of you. And Austin, take your own unsolicited advice on that one, right? It's a good one. You can text this show today at 573-319-1586 with your unsolicited advice. Camellia says, AP and I may be friends, but even I don't try to tell him what he should be doing with the show. That's not my area or knowledge or skill. Listen to that. You don't hear that very often from people. You know who gets more unsolicited advice? Parents. Yeah, I bet. I'll bet. Number 7, unsexy habits that are demolishing your likability is storytelling one-upsmanship. This is one, again, that's bad for me.
How dare you?
bad for me because I have so many awesome stories. I know. And it's so easy for me to just one up and be like, well, this time that I, and then this time that I, and then this time that I, and I'm just like, and it's just like, people are just like, oh God, it must be, I'm probably insufferable at some points, insufferable and incorrigible. Storytelling one-upmanship. We're all storytellers and we all have a competitive nature. That's why when somebody tells a story, we feel the urge to tell a better story. And it can take really stupid forms. For instance, one might say, dude, I saw an accident on the street and this happened. And the other might say something along the lines of, bro, that's nothing. I saw an even bigger accident last week. The person who tells the story has the spotlight. When you tell a better story, you're trying to steal the spotlight, right? You steal attention from them. And we all like attention, so no one likes the person that steals it from us. Therefore, if you have a better story, shut up. Save it for some time else. Let the fellow storyteller enjoy this spotlight. So there you are. So 7 social habits that make people dislike you. Recap. Number 1, breaking micro promises. Number 2, getting over offended when someone makes fun of you. Learn to lighten up and take a joke. Number 3, finding flaws like it's your day job. Number 4, overstepping your power and going outside your hierarchy. Number 5, giving unasked for advice.
How dare you?
Number 6, taking out your phone during social gatherings. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And number 7, trying to tell a better story and steal someone's spotlight. There you go. What do you think about that? You should be more interesting then, says the big guy. Very funny. Very funny, very funny, very funny. Things classy people never tolerate. Since I've got a few more lessons, I got another list for you here. And I had so many stories, I couldn't get to all of them. Number 1, rudeness. Classy people have zero tolerance for rudeness, whether it's speaking rudely to others. Yes. Who was that was being rude to me? The big guy. Interrupting a conversation or being generally disrespectful. They never engage in such behavior. Kindness and respect are among their core values. These are classy people. We're talking about things classy people never tolerate. And of course, they expect the kind of respect from other people that they give to other people. Number 2, being late. I do not tolerate this. Being late is my pet peeve. I am never late for anything, ever. I don't think I've ever been late for anything, ever. Maybe I think once I had to show up late to something that was out of my control and I started sweating and my heart started palpitating. But being late is like to me, in my opinion, is one of the rudest, most disrespectful things you do. I go out of my way to get ready, to prepare so that every professional event or engagement, it's one thing to show up late to a party. You're supposed to show up late to a party. But if it's a business meeting and it's like a phone call business meeting, or if it's like a timely business matter or something like that, and you are late, that is to me a disqualifier. Like if you want to do business with me, I mean, unless you're offering me some kind of insane amount of money to be like disrespectful to me or something like that, for the most part, like being late is to me the ultimate insult. Right? You say you're going to call me at a time or something like that. You better call me and tell me, or send me a text and tell me why we can't meet or something like that, because I take that deeply. That is to me, one of the most offensive things that you can do. And that's probably because I'm a very classy person. Yes. Oh. Thank you. Yes. You think Austin, think class. Oh, yes. Number 3, gossip. All right, I like to gossip a little bit. All right, but these are things classy people never tolerate. I know. Sometimes we just can't resist some hot goss, right? Spill the tea, if you will. We've all been there, right? And it's hard to stop listening when somebody's got a really delicious tidbit for your ears. But that's kind of a nasty habit, isn't it, really? Number 4, negative attitudes. When life gets you down, it's easy to get in a lapse of self-pity and then sad fish and post your sad fishing online, right? But you got to turn that frown upside down. I'm tired of all the negativity, to be quite honest. I'm not a negative person. I'm a very optimistic, positive, happy, optimistic, upbeat person, which is why I do a morning show. Yes. Right? To wake you up, give you a nice little smile. See, my pearly whites, get you up and happy and going so that we can get that negativity and turn that frown upside down. I say it is very unsexy and very unclassy to be a negative person all the time, right? Your life is not as bad as people who live in Romania or people who live in Ukraine right now. Here's another one that classy people never tolerate, and that is a lack of gratitude. Yes. You ever feel like nothing good ever happens to you? Do you forget to say thank you Or worse, do you take people for granted? That's not classy. That's déclassé, right? That kind of outlook is never helpful, right? Gratitude isn't just about being polite. It also strengthens relationships and fosters positivity. People who take the time to appreciate both the good and the bad stuff have better relationships. So be a classy person and show your appreciation for others. Like me. Check out the AP for Liberty shop. We'll do that. We'll put that little scene up there before we go. Make sure that you get that. Do the classy thing and buy some classy merchandise from AP for Liberty shop. Number 6, things classy people never tolerate. Dishonesty, right? One of the things I've noticed about classy people is that they have this kind of air of righteousness about them, but not the bad kind, right? Not the self-righteous, snotty attitude, but like the one you find in like self-righteous or judgmental people, like not that kind, right? But talking about kind of like an aura that feels like light and clean, right? So they're not perfect people, right? Nobody is perfect, right? But classy people tend to be more honest and upfront about the way that they do things. They're truthful, they're more transparent, even when it's difficult to be, right? Have some class, be honest with people. Number 7, inappropriate jokes. I am bad at this. Maybe I'm not classy. Right, I love jokes, right? But sometimes not all jokes are appropriate at all times, right? So there is such a thing as an inappropriate joke, right? That's made at the expense of others. And I've been in a situation where, yeah, I just said that there are a lot of people who can't take jokes. You should be able to take jokes, but sometimes it's not always appropriate, like your grandmother's funeral or something like that. Okay. Self-centeredness, that's another tough one, right? Endless selfies, right? My way or the highway attitude, nonstop talking about oneself. These are things that classy people never do. Number 9, being overly competitive, right? It's good to be competitive, but sometimes you got to let your dog actually win the game of tug or war, if you will. And number 10, poor hygiene, right? Things that classy people never do. Yes. Big bath. Well, libertarians need to learn that one. It's time for me to go. I will say this, that you've been an awesome audience today. Give yourself a round of applause. Did you like the stream? Stephanie has got a bunch of awesome new merchandise over at AP for Liberty shop. Like I survived the Chinese balloon, spy balloon 2023, and I survived the DMV. Awesome merchandise, and it's all at a great price. And if you're a monthly subscriber to the show, you get a 20% discount. Do it, right? I agree with Camellia. She says there is a time and a place, yes, but you can still be classy and appreciate inappropriate jokes. Okay, true. Very true. I got to run. It's been a great show. I hope you've enjoyed it today. Did you like that debate that I had a little bit earlier with the lady? Well, that was fun. If you like the show and you want to support us, make sure that you visit apforlibertyshop.com today. Just check it out, the merchandise shop. Will you do me just a personal favor after the show's over? Just visit the site. I'd like to see how much traffic I can drive to the shop from the Wake Up America show. So what I'm asking you for the 30 people who are watching right now is am I going to be able to, by asking you, to get the analytics to a point where you just are browsing, just take a couple minutes and just browse through the shop. I want to go over and see how effective I am at getting people to take action on something. So obviously it'd be great if you bought something. I'd like you to buy something at the shop, but I'd like to see I want to go look at the numbers now that the show's ending. Go to apforlibertyshop.com, browse around, take a look at things that you like, click on some stuff. And I'm just going to go watch the analytics to see how many of you are actually going to do that. So I can see just how effective that is. And that's good for me to talk to advertisers about what are people actually going to do in forms of taking action when I say, okay? So we'll go to the last commercial break as we go. Check out apforlibertyshop.com right now. I'm going to head over there and look and see you guys clicking through the site and see how many people actually did it based on how much I asked, because that helps get me some metrics for the future, okay? And we'll see you tomorrow on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.